gentlemen, welcome in to a brand new edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, where we are thrilled that we don't have to deal with Carlos Correa in the NL West for 13 years. I am your mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montilla. This is my friend. What are you? I don't want to say sidekick. That feels like a little...
That's a little demeaning. Right? I don't know about
Vice Mayor? That might even be demeaning, but the one and only Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman. Jesse, Carlos Correa, gone.
I mean, the big news of the day is clearly that Jake Lamb signed a minor league deal with the Los Angeles Angels. I don't know what you're talking about with Carlos Correa. Jake Lamb, another minor league deal. No, what a wild 12 hours it has been for the world of baseball.
It really has. Me and this guy were up at 2 o'clock in the morning text messaging each other if you want to know what our night was like. But of course, this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. While you were sleeping, the Carlos Correa saga took a wild turn. Of course, I guess starting with yesterday, where we discussed that the Correa introductory press conference for the San Francisco Giants,
did mention that,
right?
Yeah.
It had been postponed, which was weird, and they didn't really give a reason why. Apparently, it was a one-sentence letter statement that went out from the Giants 3 hours before the press conference was supposed to take place. Correa even had an interview planned with the San Francisco Giants flagship radio station, which got canceled. All of a sudden, these flags start turning red really fast, right? A source told MLB.com's Mark Feinson that the team was waiting on results for unspecified tests.
Yeah, it was just a wild string of events here that led to all of this. So, yeah, basically what happened is, right, this was 8 days ago. The San Francisco Giants agreed to a deal with Carlos Correa, 13 years, $350 million. We talked about the deal then.
We were very sad about it.
The implications of having Carlos Correa in the NL West and, the Diamondbacks maybe looking up at the Giants in the NL West, at least as far as how you might project things to go next year. And apparently the Giants didn't really execute this contract. They didn't actually make this official. And like you said, the press conference where he was going to meet the media was canceled initially for an unspecified reason. And it turns out, as sort of expected, that there was a issue with Carlos Correa's physical.
Correct.
The Giants did not like what they saw on that medical report.
Ronald Bloom of the Associated Press reported that a medical issue was flagged during Correa's physical. And then it sounded like from reports, there was a disagreement, if you will,
right,
between Correa and his agent, Scott Boras, and the San Francisco Giants about, I'm guessing, the implications of this injury or maybe the severity of the injury, right?
Yeah, and what's weird is we don't even know, to my knowledge, we don't know what they were even worried about on this injury report. There's sort of some speculation. You can look back at Carlos Correa's injury history and kind of try to figure out what it might have been.
He had some back issues, right?
Yeah, he's had some back issues. I believe Susan Slusser reported that the back issues were not the holdup here. He had surgery for a fractured fibula, I want to say, when he was like 19 years old, back when he was in the minor leagues. Yep. But other than that, I mean, Carlos Correa in general has been a reasonably healthy player. He hasn't missed a whole lot of time. So this sort of thing is kind of normal, right? One doctor looks at a report and sees one thing, and another doctor can look at that same report and see another thing.
We hear about, obviously second opinions all the time. We also hear about players that potentially could have season-ending injury that then they just kind of do some rehab and end up not doing that thing. So medical advice can vary. That's one thing we have to remember. Let's stop posting these videos of doctors from the 1980s and thinking that they have any kind of clout. Can we do that? Can we do that? They're just people. Doctors can just be people. In this case, these people had a disagreement. John Heyman reported that the Giants and Correa's camp had a difference of opinion, if you will, on the results of the physical, prompting agent Scott Boras to consummate a new deal with Mets owner Steve Cohen. And I don't want to say we're prophetic around here, but Jacob, if you could please, here's a little clip from last week's show where we might have given you a hint that this exact thing was going to happen. Let's go. But speaking of money spent, let's take a look now at some of the the biggest spenders as far as free agency goes. I like to call these guys the Santa Claus of the holiday free agency season. Of course, we have the San Francisco Giants now outspending everybody with the Carlos Correa deal, and the New York Mets just a tad behind. Do you think this bothers Steve Cohen? Do you think that he needs to spend
I think it absolutely bothers Steve Cohen.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. He's going to go sign, some guy to some like minor league contract with an invite to spring training or something that has incentives that could push the Mets over the Giants.
1.5 million,
right? Yeah, something
just
like that.
Enough, right? You were right. He's going to sign some guy, that's for sure. Didn't know it was going to be the one that
not a minor league, not a minor league contract exactly. A slightly larger contract than that.
More importantly, Jon Heyman has broken Giants fans' hearts more in the last month than any reporter I know in the history of the sport of baseball.
Yeah, Jon Heyman, of course, he was the guy who reported Aaron Judge to the Giants. Arson Judge to the Giants. Correct. And then, of course, that wound up not being the case. So he was wrong in that sense, breaking Giants fans' hearts.
I bet they wished he was wrong on this one.
And then in this case, he was actually right, breaking Giants fans' hearts once again. And I know last night there were some people maybe somewhat concerned, like Jon Heyman was really the only one reporting it, at least initially. Sure. Susan Slusser also reported, I think, soon thereafter. But yeah, I mean, when Jon Heyman is reporting something, but you don't hear anything from Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal, I think a lot of fans are maybe taking that with a grain of salt. But in this case, Jon Heyman nailed it. And Giants fans probably don't like that guy too much anymore.
No. You said this tweet came out around 12:30 at night, our time last night. Like I said, Jesse and I could not sleep after this. So this
is 2:30 in the morning on the East Coast. Right. So the vast majority of Mets fans were probably asleep when this happened.
Terms of the deal are a 12-year, $315 million deal with the New York Mets. And the most important part, again, is that he is out of the NL West. That's a key that we need to drive home here, because the Diamondbacks were going to have to deal with Carlos Correa, a very, very good player for a very long time. Yeah. Looking at this from the San Francisco Giants perspective, they were going to sign what they thought was a very good player to a very long contract. Now, I don't hate the fact that they didn't go through with this deal, because from an outsider perspective, at least, because do you really want to pay that much money for that length of time to somebody that could potentially have a questionable health or durability issues going forward, right? That's the one thing you want.
I think it's fair to wonder if, like, yes, the physical played a role, but also did the Giants just kind of get cold feet at the last second, and like maybe they kind of used like, we saw some stuff on the physical we didn't like. That's how it's being reported. So I'm inclined to think that is the case. It was all just a matter of health, but I think it's at least possible that, maybe the Giants got cold feet and didn't want to execute this deal when all was said and done. But yeah, from the D-backs perspective, I think this probably helps. Not a ton. You're probably, there's a chance you're in the mix with the Mets, for a wild card spot. So the Mets getting better doesn't necessarily help you, but also it's going to be really hard for the D-backs to beat the Mets anyway. Given all of the other moves that they made. Whereas now that the Giants don't have Carlos Correa, I think the D-backs actually line up pretty favorably with them in the NL West, although that's still pretty close, and we're going to have to see what the Giants do now. Maybe the Giants get more aggressive in some other areas now that this deal has fallen through for them.
I think when you're talking about what you just said about if maybe they got cold feet, if maybe this was something that the Giants really didn't want to go through with on their end, it's important to wait to see if they make any moves, right? However, to contradict that point, here's what by thinking that they had.
You're just going to contradict me.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Here's why I say that wouldn't be a good idea, or what probably not part of their plan is because they had Carlos Correa for like a week, right? Like you said, like 8 days from the announcement or whatever.
Aaron Judge for 7 minutes and Carlos Correa for 8 days.
It's the worst roster moves ever. But my thought is they really took themselves out of contention for other free agents that were signed during that period of time, right?
Yeah,
so that's the only reason why this it wouldn't be a wise move on their part to now back out of the deal and expect to be able to nab someone up, because to be honest, most of the big names are off the board.
Right.
More importantly, the New York Mets kind of have something that might interest the Arizona Diamondbacks going on as well, because the New York Mets now have kind of a surplus of their own. The plan is to move Carlos Correa to third base.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is interesting.
He's
a pretty good shortstop to be accepting a move to third base.
That's right. But mi gente was over there, right? You got Francisco Lindor and Carlos Correa, 2 Puerto Ricans. So let's go.
There you go.
But that makes 2 players within the Mets organization expendable. Old friend Eduardo Escobar.
Yeah.
As well as Beatty, that the Diamondbacks were checking in on for a trade in regards to one of their young outfielders. Now, if you look at the Mets, they don't fucking need anybody else, but they still could use another young, prospect outfielder that's very talented, like the Diamondbacks have.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Ken Rosenthal, in his column about this whole thing today, I want to say that it was that piece. I believe he mentioned that yes, Brett Baty would now be expendable for them, and frankly, there's no reason to keep Brett Baty in the organization now that you have both Lindor and Carlos Correa locked up into the 2030s. They're going to be set on the left side of the infield for a while. I don't think that sets up a move for the Diamondbacks, if I'm being honest. Okay. From what Rosenthal said, it sounds like the Mets would be targeting pitching more than they would be targeting an outfielder. They already brought back Brandon Nimmo. That's the move that they made when the Diamondbacks asked for Brett Baty in exchange for Alek Thomas, when those two sides were discussing that deal. So I think the Mets are kind of already set in the outfield. And if they're going to move, a big prospect like Brett Baty, they're probably not going to do it to get like a fourth outfielder, which is what Jake McCarthy or Alek Thomas or one of those guys would be for them. Yeah.
There's one factor that's the most important here, and it doesn't involve the Diamondbacks, the Mets, or the Giants. It involves this man, and the fact that now, because this deal happened, this man needs to eat an entire Toyota RAV4. Based on a tweet he sent out on December 11th, he said, "I'll eat a Toyota RAV4 on a live stream if the Mets sign Correa." Well, guess what, pal? We just subscribed to your channel, so get on that. I would eat a cake shaped like a RAV4. That's the route I would go if I had painted myself into this corner. What about you?
I feel slightly attacked by this tweet just because as the owner of a RAV4.
You don't want to see any RAV4 violence.
Yeah, no RAV4s can be harmed in the making of any videos. I will not accept that. At least not my RAV4.
Yeah, he's very protective of his RAV4.
I'm very protective of the sick RAV4. Yeah. Yes.
Well, in Arizona Diamondbacks news, another name is now off the board. I know you may have heard me say that before, but Brandon Drury agrees to a deal with the Los Angeles Angels. One less player that the Diamondbacks really have to acquire on the free agent market, at least for that third base hole that they have, if you will. So now it's Evan Longoria or bust. So that's where we're at, right?
Like on paper, yes, right? I mean, that he's the last guy who's there that the Diamondbacks have been linked to. So I definitely understand that perspective. I don't know if Evan Longoria necessarily moves the needle that much for the Diamondbacks. I wouldn't be, I think, like, if you're a fan, I don't think you should be mad at an addition of Evan Longoria, depending on the price. Like it gives the D-backs some depth, especially at DH. There's still some at-bats at DH that are not necessarily accounted for. It'd be good to have a right-handed hitter to take those at-bats. But is Evan Longoria, like, significantly better than Emmanuel Rivera and Josh Rojas, like, as a platoon at third base?
Yes.
Probably not.
I think he is. Then I still think we hold Emmanuel Rivera in very high regard.
That's fair.
For the first month that he was a member of
this team, was sort of like a month or a month and a half of very, very good hitting, and then he kind of dropped off. So, yeah, I think Evan Longoria, at least on paper, maybe moves the needle even a little bit more than Brandon Drury, who you just mentioned there, who signed with the Angels. But yeah, you're not talking about a huge addition there. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be fine. Like, if the Diamondbacks can still get Evan Longoria, I do think it would help them a little bit and could be worth doing depending on the price.
And I don't think he's at the worst point in his career. To be honest, he's a career 265 hitter, and last season he hit 244. He still was, a contributor to a bad Giants team. So I'm not going to say like he was the end all be all, but I don't really think he was the reason why they were bad. I still think he has been a good addition to this team, and more than anything, he's been consistent. You know what I mean? Like, the guy has played consistently. I mean, his playing time got cut, obviously, due to his declining skills.
And he was hurt kind of a lot last year. I think he would have played nearly a full season if he could have, but he hasn't played a true full. I mean, I guess 2020 he played 53 out of the 60 games. Maybe you count that a full season, but he hasn't played close to a full 162 since 2017.
Since
really,
he was with the Tampa Bay.
Right. Yeah. But you're saying you want Evan Longoria? Is it Evan Longoria or bust for Diamondbacks fans, Derek? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think so, because I still think that, like you said, there's moves to be made. There's, there's not a lot in their system, when it comes to third base.
No.
It would almost require
not in terms of right-handed offense. Right. There's really nothing there.
And it would require someone to change position and within the organization. They also just don't have a future there. It's not like with Jordan Luplow or Jordan Lawler. I'll never say Jordan. I'll never have to make that confusion ever again. Jordan Lawler, coming
Jordan Luplow is a Brave now, Derek.
He's gone. He's out of our lives. Lawler coming up, though. That's one of the things that we have to be very careful about when we talk about acquiring a shortstop. But let's be honest, the Diamondbacks could use a shortstop right now. They could use a guy. Nick Ahmed's going to be back, and we'll see how he plays after coming back from injury. But I'm saying for right now, I don't think they're set in the infield.
Do you think that they're thinking that maybe Lawler's switching to third base full time, and that's why they haven't made a move toward third base?
Probably not. I think it's possible. Like from what I've seen of Lawler playing defense, I haven't necessarily been like enormously impressed. Sure. But he's still just so young and raw at that position that it's probably too early to make that judgment. It's probably something in the back of their minds, though. Like the D-backs probably aren't looking at Jordan Lawler as like, yes, he is 100% going to be, a lock-in shortstop for his entire career or anything. I don't think we're quite at that point yet. But you're probably also not at the point of like, yes, we need to, we need to find a shortstop because Jordan Lawler can't do that either. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you haven't done so already, go over to our website, gophnx.com. Check out Jesse's wonderful articles, most of which are unlocked. But the ones that are locked, you can get access to by becoming a D-backs diehard. That's right. Not PHNX diehard. We're D-backs diehards over here. But it'll give you all sorts of wonderful things. Not only will you get a free hat or shirt from the PHNXlocker.com every single year you're a member, you also get 20% off, access to our members-only Discord, and so much more. Most importantly, you get discounts. We're talking about discounts across the board. We're going to have discounts available for our partners, discounts available at the PHNXlocker.com, and discounts on events like our upcoming PHNX Tea Party on January 13th out at Dobson Ranch Golf Course. We are partnering together with our friends at Four Peaks, and we are going to bring you guys an incredible time. Of course, PHNX diehards get $36 per person rate versus the $45 per person normal rate that we have for anybody can join us, but diehards get that discount. Same thing with foursomes. You get a discount there. The entry fee will include unlimited range balls, a set of rental clubs, 1 free hour of range time and golf balls at Dobson Ranch to be used at a later time. So you can come back and check out their wonderful driving range. I've talked about it a bunch. It's incredible. I had a blast out there playing all of the little mini games they have. They have an incredible ball tracking system that lets you still hit on an open range, but has all of your balls tracked. If you shank one like I did, I told you guys this, they'll tell you an attendant is on the way to check on you. That's very funny to me. I don't know what they're checking on. Do they want to check on me to see if I'm bad, or do they want to make sure I'm okay, that I didn't have like a heart attack while hitting the ball or something? I don't know, but so much fun to be had. Jesse's going to beat you in ping pong. I'm talking that way up, so when he doesn't, he can feel really bad about himself. Lindsay's going to be hoarding all of the hot chocolate and all of the heaters, so you can find those gathered around her. Most importantly, we're going to be having a great time with the PHNX Suns crew, watching the Suns versus Timberwolves on jumbo screens out there. We're going to have a basketball, what is it, a shot of glory out there? I don't even know. We have so much stuff going on. Most importantly, drop the kiddos off at a free kids clinic provided for all kids 10 and under. I'm going to lie about my child's age and tell them she's 10 and under so she can get in. Maybe I shouldn't be telling you guys that or anyone at the golf course, but make sure to join us. Of course, it's our inaugural PHNX Tea Party presented by our friends at Four Peaks and Dobson Ranch Golf Course. We're going to rent out the entire driving range. Come hang out with us, the PHNX Suns crew, fellow diehards, big drive energy, and more for a night of golf, food, drinks, contests, prizes, and more. Our PHNX Suns crew, of course, like I said, will be hosting that watch party, and Four Peaks will be out there providing beer samples and swag. So check the link in the description to reserve your spot right now. And for our diehards, check Discord for your special link where you'll save 70% on this awesome event. And again, if you can't join us out there, make sure to grab some Four Peaks near you, wherever you get your local beer. Join us remotely. Get it for watching the show. And yes, hey, an attendant is checking on you is their nice way of saying, hey, dipshit, hit it towards the middle. Yes, thank you, Brett. I appreciate you saying that. So must be 21 years or older to enjoy Four Peaks and enjoy responsibly. Jesse, it's report card time.
It is.
We've been reviewing the Arizona Diamondbacks' individual season performances from 2022. And this time we are taking on the short king himself, the man with all the tools, the one and only Daulton Varsho. So I'm going to let you have the floor first as far as your report card goes.
So as far as this is the all the tools guy, right? This is the guy. You guys know about Daulton Varsho.
Correct.
And yes, correct. As fittingly under the tools category, rather than giving a letter grade, I simply have all. It's just all.
It makes
tools,
all the sense in the world.
As far as the actual letter grades go, hit. I have a C- for Daulton Varsho.
Wow. And I know why that is.
It is relatively low.
You're basing that on his average exit velo, aren't you?
That's sort of part of it.
Okay.
That's sort of part of it.
And
yes, wow, look at you, Derek, with all these fancy numbers.
Look at me.
Daulton Varsho's expected batting average, which is another like StatCast stat, is 214 from this last year.
It's in the 7th percentile.
It is not particularly great. So basically what you're saying about like his average exit velo, that was in the 25th percentile. The numbers suggest that Daulton Varsho hit 235, and that was probably on the higher end of what he might have deserved to come away with at the end of the year. I do think that going into next year, the shift will certainly help him. The fact that the shift is going to be restricted. Daulton Varsho led the league in pull rate last year out of hitters who had like 450 or more plate appearances. He pulls the ball a ton. He also hits a lot of fly balls, so we'll see. Not all of those pulled balls are necessarily going to turn into hits because a lot of them are in the air. We'll see how that turns out. But moving on to the other categories, I have a B+ in the power department, 27 home runs, pretty solid for Daulton Varsho. Maybe there's a little bit more room for him to add there, but in terms of the power numbers, it was a really solid season for him. He ran the bases well. I'm giving him a B+ there. He was 16 for 22 in stolen bases, which is pretty good for a guy who, catches and plays the outfield and does all of the things that he does in other areas of the game. And then, of course, the fielding can't go anything other than an A+. I've written about why Daulton Varsho should have won a Gold Glove award this year, either in right field or the new utility category that they've introduced. I think he was snubbed in that regard, and he arguably is the best, or at least was the best defender in the outfield in all of baseball in 2022. So I can't go anything other than an A+ in the fielding department for Daulton Varsho.
His outfielder jump is in the 97th percentile, and his outs above average is in the 99th percentile. The man is just a defensive beast. And let's remember that this is a guy that came up as a catcher. Like, he had very little focus in the minor leagues on being an outfielder.
Very true.
And you factor in Chase Field's ridiculous dimensions and that stupid-ass porch. And, you have a guy that adapted very quickly to not only center field, where he was fantastic, but right field, where he ended up living the rest of his season out. So much like a teacher that favors a student, my grades are much higher on this. Let's take a look, Jacob, what I got over here.
Oh, here we go.
Of course. Yes, tools. I just gave him an A+ on tools because, like you said, he has all the tools. And mine were a little bit more favorable here. I agree with you on the hitting, though. I probably could have given him a little bit lower on the hitting. But I just thought that, to be honest, the fact that his barrel percentage is in the 70th percentile, he kept his strikeouts fairly low compared to the league. And I mean, of course, it was just the unexpected, offensive numbers that he put up. I know defensively he was good, but I just felt like, I think he's probably a player that the bar was set a bit low on, when he struggled and he first came up. He had a good second half of his season the prior year, but that kind of seemed a little fluky, like what we might see out of, or what we might feel like we've seen out of, like, let's say Jake McCarthy this year. I just thought he continued to be excellent at the plate, and honestly, the Diamondbacks' second most, potent offensive threat. Obviously, power there represents that as well. I thought he was, like Jesse said, the speed on the base paths was great. More importantly, the jump speed and his ability to play defense also factored in there as well.
Sure.
And then, fielding, I would give him 7 pluses behind that A because he deserves every single one of them. Someone said in the comments, Brett Johnson said that the man has single-handedly put Ace out of business, Ace Hardware, for those of you that are younger and might not remember that Ace Hardware even existed. That's the reference he's making there. I just think that all of these things, this is the first report card for me without a C or D. Yeah, look at that. Like I said, I favor Daulton Varsho, but sadly we had to do this quickly because we didn't know how much longer we would have to actually grade Daulton Varsho as a member of this team, which is sad to say. I think in the end, though, we'll probably see none of the outfielders moved, and we'll see this team proceed with a roster very similar to what they had last year.
Yeah, it's fair. It seems like there's probably no movement between now and like the holidays. Probably looking in January, maybe things pick up again. But
we have 65 days until spring training.
That's 65. The clock is ticking. Yep. Time is running a little bit short here. But yeah, one phone call can change everything when it comes to trade negotiations. Yeah. So you never really know.
And it's not like they haven't been connected. We've heard a lot of people checking in with the Diamondbacks. We've heard them checking in with other people. So yeah, definitely. And yes, Derek with Daulton Varsho bias confirmed. Absolutely. And I'll never not have Daulton Varsho bias. Do you think we go after Nathan Eovaldi at all? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually, so later today I'll have a piece out on free agent targets who are still out there. Believe it or not, there's still a few. It's not just Evan Longoria. There's a few others that I'll draw your attention to as well. I'm actually, right before we started the show, I'm like mentally debating, like, should I put Nate Eovaldi on this list, or is he just too unrealistic for the Diamondbacks? My guess is he is probably a little bit unrealistic for the Diamondbacks when all is said and done. He's your best starter that's left, and a lot of teams still need starting pitching. And so I think he's going to get, probably 4 years, maybe somewhat similar to what Taijuan Walker and Jameson Taillon got, maybe a little bit less than that. I don't know if the D-backs are in a spot right now where they want to make that kind of an investment on a starting pitcher. I think they're more looking for, like a Wade Miley, maybe a Rich Hill, the veterans who are steady. Those are the guys that I think they're most likely to be looking at moving forward. I wouldn't rule it out. It's possible. Based on how much money I think they have to spend the rest of the offseason, Eovaldi would pretty much take all of that by himself. But maybe the D-backs stretch the budget a little bit more than we're expecting. Certainly anything is possible.
Well, our fearless leader, Saul Bookman, tweeted out this morning about the Diamondbacks payroll for 2021 being just over $85 million. And then linking that to Jeff Passan's tweet about the amount of money the Mets have spent in free agency alone. It's absurd. $806.1 million committed to the free agents that they either brought back or signed this offseason. So
yeah,
as Saul said, baseball inequity sucks. It really, really does. But we far too often put the blame on MLB and baseball itself, when in reality, you can spend whatever you want, right?
Yeah,
you
well,
really
Steve Cohen has made that abundantly clear.
My God.
Steve Cohen, the price tag on this Mets roster, once you factor in just the raw cost of it, along with the luxury tax bill that they're facing, it's nearly $500 million for just the 2023 New York Mets roster. They're looking at about $480 million at this point. And then you have, a team like the Diamondbacks that currently is, 105 maybe after bringing in Scott McGuff, 105, 108, something in that range. There's a pretty big difference between a team that is willing to spend $480 million versus a team that's willing to spend, in the low 100s in payroll. And that's just, I think the addition of Steve Cohen into the baseball sphere has caused a lot of people to be concerned about where are we going with this?
Yeah, when is it going to stop? When is too much, right?
Right. And Ken Kendrick was one of the 4 owners who voted against Steve Cohen being brought in as an MLB owner, and it was for this reason.
And we know why now. We
know why.
Here's the thing, though, is the Mets are in a terrible division as far as competing, just as bad as the Diamondbacks are in, right?
But you mean like terrible division as in it's very good?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a terrible situation in their division because they're in a fantastic division.
Don't forget
so many good teams.
Don't forget, though, that you're not playing your division as much.
No, I know that, but it's still a matter of winning the division and the route to the playoffs, right? So, but yes, the schedule for next year, it's much better as far as not playing your division and not getting stuck, getting beat up on by overpowered teams that you have to beat them not only in games but beat them overall in the season in order to try to make the playoffs, right? I think the Mets are just tired of losing. They want to be the ones. They want to be the ones that spend all the money in New York. They want to be the ones that that buy all the players and create this all-star roster. The only problem is how many times historically has that really worked? Not much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of times where you look back on rosters like a Florida Marlins roster here or there, or certain teams where, like, knowing how good the players ended up being, they were all-star caliber rosters, but they were, at the time, they were homegrown and maybe added in little pieces, not doing it the way that the Mets are doing it. Who knows if this equates to the Mets winning the World Series or not? I mean,
it's a fascinating question.
The Dodgers would have 5 World Series by now over the last 10 years if it was about who spent the most money.
That's
right?
true. That's true. And I don't necessarily look at this Mets roster and say, this is by far the best roster in the National League. I don't think they're at that point. A lot of the money they've spent is just to either bring back guys that they already had in Brandon Nimmo and Edwin Diaz, or replace a guy that they lost in Justin Verlander instead of Jacob deGrom, right? Carlos Correa is the one guy they brought in where it's like, okay, this is actually a substantial upgrade.
And he's not even going to play his position.
Right, and he's going to play third, which he'll probably be a fantastic third baseman. I don't know if that necessarily drags down his value a ton, but yeah, it's not like this Mets team is, way, way better than it was last year. But it's a pretty darn good team.
It's a pretty darn good team. If you're watching us right now on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, we thank you guys for being here. Of course, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Leave us a thumbs up for my self-esteem. And if you're listening to us on your favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe to us there if you haven't done so already, and leave us a review. We appreciate you for doing so. The Mets are definitely building something, but you know what? You don't have to build anything if you get your furniture through murfurniture.com. Forget IKEA and all of their stuff you have to put together yourself. Go get yourself furniture that's already put together wonderfully by our friends at More Furniture. And right now, they have their holiday clearance event, which is happening down at More Furniture, and you can save up to 50% off. Jesse, sometimes when I go to More Furniture's showroom, they decorate it for the holidays.
Yeah.
And then I get ideas on how to decorate. So one of the ideas that they did was they had some pictures that were wrapped like gifts, like a picture frame. But instead of it just being itself, they wrapped it like a gift. I did that at my house, and my daughter asked me why I was so extra.
Wait, so you're wrapping, you're taking pictures off the wall?
Take it off the wall,
and you're wrapping it.
Paper, put a bow on it. It looks like a gift's up on your wall.
But then you can't see the picture anymore.
Jesse, it's just for a month, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, but
Jesse hasn't even shopped yet. It's okay.
Jesse doesn't even have anything on his walls that I didn't give him as a present. So let's be honest here.
Isn't Christmas about you decorate the things that you have? You enhance the appearance of the things you have.
Yeah.
You don't cover up the things you have with Christmas.
That Neil Lomax picture as a fucking present.
Please do.
I am going to do that. I swear to God.
That one, I think I'd be okay. I think I'd be okay with that.
Before we get out of here, I tweeted about this earlier this week, but I wanted to give a quick shout out and thank you to our friends in the country of Brazil. For one beautiful day in November, Jesse, we were the #1 baseball podcast in Brazil. And I just want to thank you all so much for listening. I'm sure it's just one guy.
We're really taking a victory lap on this.
I'm taking a victory lap on this one day that we were #1. I mean, you can't take that away from us.
We actually don't track our metrics in the U.S.
No,
we're only concerned about our perforance in Brazil,
Great
and
Britain,
select
and Canada.
Yeah, select countries in Africa, and I think New Zealand also. I like to keep a close eye on how we're doing there. But the U.S. is, we don't really. That's not really a big
shout out to
factor.
CHGO Cubs though. Did you see this?
No, what
they tweeted out the other day that they were the #3 podcast for baseball in America.
Whatever. Well, how did they do in Brazil though?
Yeah,
they weren't #1.
Were they? Damn it! Damn it!
I said they weren't #1.
Oh, they weren't.
You were.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I want to any Brazilians listening, I want to try feijoada. I think that's how it's called. It's this delicious looking stew.
Okay, now we're trying Brazilian stew.
Hey,
okay,
I'm just trying to not only get us back to #1, but keep us there. Is what I'm trying to do here, Jesse. Another quick update that we had on the cat from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
We have an update on that. Did the cat recover?
The cat's okay. That's movie magic right there, folks. A lot of people wanted to know the specifics about my wife's connection. Apparently, my wife's Aunt Carla, who is no longer with us, was the actual caregiver for this cat. She was
really.
It was her cat. The cat's name in real life was Shithead, or SH for short. But yes, this is
terrible.
This is a very true situation. My wife's aunt was an artist who lived in LA, and she actually did a lot of artwork that they would buy and hang up in movies in the background just to have like art on the walls. And then eventually she started selling it to like hotel chains and stuff like that. But yeah, there's that story so that everybody can rest easy. Rest much easier than Jesse and I did last night with the Carlos Correa information.
So now I have to ask, like they didn't actually electrocute the cat in it.
Jesse,
like,
no.
Okay.
Jesse, no. Right. You're not asking me that.
Okay.
I shouldn't even have to answer that. Oh my God. No.
Is the cat still alive?
Oh my God. No, the cat's not alive. Okay. That movie was filmed 30 years ago, Jesse. It would be some sort of record if that cat was still alive. My God.
Just figured it was worth asking. I mean, it'd be what a legendary cat that was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It was still alive at like age 40.
Yeah, 40 years
like
later.
What an incredible story.
Yeah, no. Not at all. But anyway, if your kids have wonderful questions for you the way Jesse does for me, here's what you do with them during their winter break. You take them to Octane Raceway, Mavericks. You go experience the United States only full-time indoor-outdoor track, and also the 22 bowling lanes, 85 arcade games, and the state-of-the-art laser tag arena over at Mavericks. And of course, we have a blast going out there ourselves. You could see the video where Jesse and I are like killing zombies, and I'm really into it, so check that out. They have a 5,000 square foot restaurant, bar featuring a chef curated menu. The burgers are incredible, craft beers, custom cocktails, all of that. Every Wednesday, since today is today Wednesday? Today's still Wednesday.
Today,
right?
I believe, is Wednesday.
Oh my God, it's Winning Wednesday. It's Winning Wednesday for us because Carlos Correa is out of the NL West, and it's Winning Wednesday over at Mavericks, where you can get half-price arcade games all day long. What better place to take the kiddos out for some fun during their winter break? So make sure to check out our friends at Mavericks and Octane Raceway, and it's right there in the shadow of Salt River Field. So 65 days from now, where we're going to be at.
Yeah.
You can be there too, watching spring training baseball. But until
that's
then,
like the dream of a day.
It really is.
Like spend half the day at Mavericks and then
bowling and playing arcade
and
games,
then go hit up a spring training game in the afternoon.
It's a blast. Then that night you go to a Talking Stick and make some money.
There you go.
Of course, in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but of course, all roads lead to @PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again for joining us, not only on the live show, but in Discord, in the chat, and wherever you guys join us, Twitter, everywhere. We're all going to celebrate not having to deal with Correa for 13 years in the NL West. Thank God. But anyway, we thank you guys again. On behalf of Faj, Jesse, and myself, we always appreciate your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you're Steve Cohen.